Well, Joe Biden's Disinformation Governance Board is on pause after just 3 weeks since it was announced. The board was headed by the Department of Homeland Security. Republicans and critics of the board labelled it the Ministry of Truth and began to argue the censorship of free speech and control from Democrats was already too much. A spokesperson for the DHS announced the board would be paused because it had been grossly and intentionally mischaracterised. It was never about censorship or policing speech in any manner. False attacks have become a significant distraction from the department's vitally important work to combat disinformation that threatens the safety and security of the American people. This board was announced in a way to tackle online disinformation, a topic of which has become a central issue in the past few years. The problem areas that were meant to be addressed range from false information about the amount of human smugglers and illegal immigrants in the country, Russian disinformation in relation to elections, the Russia-Ukraine war, and COVID-19 vaccines. And while the pausing of the board doesn't mean it won't be invoked, it's a win for Republicans who argue it should be dissolved. One of the main reasons for this is that the woman who was put in charge, Nina Jankowicz, was not given a warm welcome from Conservatives. They believe her past proves she should not be the referee of separating fact from fiction. This is because Ms. Jankowicz once referred to Hunter Biden's laptop scandal as Russian disinformation. Now that the New York Times verified the contents of the laptop 17 months later, Republicans argue, why would the Biden administration put someone in charge of figuring out what is disinformation when that very person believed the president's son's scandal was a Russian hoax? However, she has now announced her resignation from the board, telling CNN it was due to personal attacks. I had hoped we would have been more transparent about how the board was going to operate and what it was going to do. For whatever reason, that didn't happen, and that information vacuum only grew. And I think the information vacuum kind of directed a lot of attacks and digging around in my personal life. Republicans rejoiced online over the news. Matt Gaetz wrote, "We've killed the Ministry of Truth." Lauren Boebert said, even with the Ministry of Truth on hold, we need to haul Mayorkas in front of Congress and begin impeachment proceedings. He isn't off the hook. We can give no reprieve in this fight against wannabe authoritarians. Dinesh D'Souza wrote, "Wait, what? No more Ministry of Truth? Shoot. I was hoping myself to have the position of Minister of Truth in the next Trump administration. Now I'm not going to be able to force everyone else to think like I do. Disappointing." Arkansas Senator Tom Cotton spoke to Fox News about the pausing of the board, believing the Democrats just associate disinformation with anything that reflects poorly on Joe Biden.
The government has no business refereeing disputes engaged in political campaigns or public debates. If you don't like someone else's speech, the solution is more speech. It's not to use the Department of Homeland Security, for goodness sakes, to try to censor or label someone's arguments in the public sphere. I think that Democrats often believe that disinformation and misinformation are simply facts that reflect poorly on Joe Biden and the Democratic Party. Not only should we never have a Ministry of Truth like this board, but we shouldn't have a woman like that purporting to referee debates among the American people. There was no coordinated right-wing internet campaign or anything else. What you had were millions of Americans who saw the same set of ominous facts, and their elected representatives here in Washington and around the country recoiling from the idea that the federal government, the Department of Homeland Security, with all of its law enforcement and national security powers, might be refereeing political debates in the public sphere. That's not coordination, that's not a campaign, that's the citizens of a free country jealously guarding their freedoms.